Well, welcome everyone to this webinar called What's New with Trimble Mapping. For those that were not able to attend our Mapping Spring showcases, that's one of the main reasons why we are hosting this webinar, to provide information on what's new with Trimble Mapping Hardware and some of the ESRI software that is compatible with the Trimble Mapping Hardware. So thank you again for joining us for the What's New with Trimble Mapping Hardware, sponsored here by Seiler Geospatial Mapping Division. Quick little introductions. This is Jay Reister, Senior Mapping GPS Tech Support with Seiler Instrument. With me on the call is Joe Mai, also Mapping Tech Support based out of our St. Louis office. I'm out of our Milwaukee Franklin office. Joe, are you on the call?
Yes, I am here.
All right. Joe will be handling questions that come in through the chat window, and also we'll be doing 3 polls throughout the webinar. So on this page, if you can see this page, we do have the ability for you to get in contact with us via our email, mapsupport@seilergeo.com. It's a little bit easier than trying to remember Joe's and my email addresses. Also, our blog is seilergeo.com/blogs. You could also follow us on Twitter at SIMapSupport. So today's agenda is going to be a condensed version of what we presented on at our half-day spring showcases this past spring. So we're going to cover what's new with some Trimble hardware first, and then get into some software on the ESRI and also on the Trimble side. So first up will be the Nomad 5, the SP20, or what is also known as the Trimble TDC 150, and something that just came out a week or so ago, the TDC 600. And then we've got some updates on following software on the Spectra line of things called Mobile Mapper. What's new with ArcGIS Online, and then also what's new with some ESRI apps, which we'll discuss the newer collector and also Survey 123. So before we get into talking what's new about the hardware, I believe, Joe, you have a poll?
Yep, we're going to do a quick poll here just to see what are you currently using for GPS software. All right, poll's complete. I'm going to close it out here real quick, and I share the results with you. So looks like GeoExplorers R1s and R2s and a few others out there. So thanks everybody for your time on the polls, and then I'll turn it back over to Jay.
All right, are we able to show those results, or
I showed the results.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so moving on here in the hardware section. All right, so first up is the Nomad 5. This was released last fall. This is, if you recall, there used to be a Nomad that came out years ago, the 800, the 900 series, and the 1050. Those were all Windows Mobile embedded products, Microsoft. This is now one of the new generations of the Nomad, and they call it the Nomad 5. This is running Android 8.1, has a large rugged screen, 5-inch screen, has onboard 2 to 4 meter accuracy, similar to what the older Nomads used to have. Its IP rating is 65, 68. And if you notice in the photo, there is something on the top of the Nomad. This is an accessory that could be purchased. Trimble has a new external or attachment GPS GNSS receiver called an mPower GNSS module. This is very similar to what is known as the R1 that we use, the sub-meter GNSS receiver. So if you need to enhance the Nomad's 5 2 to 4 meter accuracy and get it to sub-meter, that's what this add-on is. It's called the mPower GNSS module. If you don't wish to use that, there is another module that could be attached for barcode scanning, 1D, 2D, 3D, also called an mPower module, if you will, mPower barcode. Since it is Android, it can run Trimble Android apps and also ESRI apps from the Google Play Store. Just like on your Android phone, you would just need a Google account, and then you can access the Google Play Store to download apps, whether it be Trimble apps or ESRI apps. So that is the Nomad 5. All right, so the next device that we've got that is actually new as of this spring, it's the Trimble TDC150 or the SP20. What the SP20 is a blue version of the yellow one that you see on screen here, Spectra Precision. So Trimble has it's called a sister company that they own called Spectra Precision. So they are exactly the same models, it's just blue or yellow. They're both running Android 6.0. What is interesting about these devices is they're scalable, kind of similar to what you've got with the older Geo 7 models, where you could purchase it and then upgrade as far as the accuracy goes. So you can get it at 1 meter, sub-meter, sub-foot, or a full RTK 1 centimeter. So this is fairly new this past spring. It's called the TDC 150. Let us know if you're interested in seeing a demo of this. It is running Android 6, like I said. And again, Google Play Store, you got the Trimble and the ESRI software apps at your disposal. The battery on this, you can remove it and replace it with another battery, so it's not internal like on some of the older Geos. Although with the Geo 6007, you could take the battery out and swap out. You can still plug into external antenna just like you are with an older Geo. So you could plug into a Tornado, Zephyr, and the like, so to speak, if you do need to have it on a pole and get the antenna above your head. Otherwise, you can use it in your hand just like you would with a Geo. I believe we're missing a slide there, Joe. There we go. It just advanced. Like, where did the TDC600 go? There we go. All right, so the TDC600 literally came out about 2 weeks ago. This also is Android. This one is running Android 8. Much larger screen than its predecessor, the TDC100. Has 2.2 gigahertz Qualcomm processor in it. Rather large screen. It's got 64 gigabyte internal storage. So the screen is 6 inches, does have a replaceable battery, and also has IP rating 67. Its internal GPS chip is a 2-meter accuracy chip. That's with SBAS. So it'd be similar to running either that Nomad 5 or the older TDC 100 with its internal GNSS chip only. Now, similar to what you would be doing with your Android phone or an Android tablet, you could pair this up with a Trimble R1 or a Trimble R2 to get higher accuracy. The Trimble R1 would get you into the sub-meter range, and then if you had an R2 sub-foot or the R2 centimeter model, again, you could work with your Trimble apps and or your ESRI apps off of the Google Play Store. Are there any questions rolling in so far, Joe? In the chat window?
Nope, no question. No questions so far.
Okay. Feel free to ask questions. We'll entertain them as we go. Otherwise, you can wait till the end. All right. So next section here, software. Joe, do you have another poll?
Yep, I have another poll. The question is going to be, what GPS software are you currently using? All right. All the answers are there. I'm going to show the poll results here. 69% using Collector and 46% using TerraSync. A few ArcGIS users and a few Survey 123 and a couple others out there too.
Okay.
So Jay, we actually have a question come in here real quick about the Nomad 5. Does the Nomad 5 come with a swappable battery? Jay, you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay.
That is something we'll have to quickly research. We can get back to you on that if it has a swappable battery or not. While
Yes,
I'm
it
going into the
does.
software section, I'll, Joe, if you don't mind checking that out real quick.
It does come with a swappable battery.
Okay, good, good. Is that the standard battery, or is it an extended battery for longer life?
As far as I know, it just comes with a standard battery right now. There's no extended batteries that have been released, but there are batteries that you can just pop off on and off the back of the device. So yes, there is swappable batteries.
Gotcha. All right, good to know. All right, so we'll continue on here with the software section. All right, so I'd mentioned earlier Spectra Geospatial. So they have a newer software for the mapping GIS side that runs on Android, and it'll run on that SP20 or the TDC150. It is an Android-based app that it would be similar to, that Joe and I like to equate to, very similar to using a TerraSync and Pathfinder Office workflow, if some of you are familiar with that workflow. Although it's now Android. And you can use it in either an RTK VRS mode real time, and or you have the ability, if you purchase the unlock for the Office software, to do post-processing differential correction against your local base stations, the Coors base stations, and whatever the Office software has the ability to look up a list, just like you would have in the older GPS Pathfinder Office software and or the Trimble position software for ArcMap. So Android only, Spectra receivers and TDC150 are compatible with this software called Spectra Mobile Mapper. Again, you can do VRS and or post-processing. What is nice is that this is one of the few, there aren't many out there as far as apps go, that actually can do true mean sea level and use a geoid file to actually get that proper elevation if you're looking for mean sea level results, US state plane coordinates, versus where some apps, or most apps I should say, on the Google Play Store or iOS can only do HAE, height above ellipse. You have export types that you can do both from the data collector itself within the software and or in the Office software. And it's kind of handy. You can export out 2D, 3D shapefile, MIF, CSV, or DXF from the device. And if you do decide to do the shapefile or any of these other files, the next line item is it talks about Google Drive integration. Since this is an Android app, you can then go back into settings after you've exported and say, hey, I wish to upload this to Google Drive in case I'm not going back in the office, or I misplaced my my USB cable to copy the data off. It just makes life a little bit easier when I get back to the office or my laptop. I can just download the data directly from Google Drive to my PC and either then bring it right into whatever software I'm using, whether it's an ESRI software or CAD software, or if I do need to manipulate it a little bit more because I need to export it out to a different file type or do the differential correction post-processing in the Spectra Office software, then that's when you would have that ability to do that. Also something to point out too, which is kind of handy, if any of you have used laser rangefinders, especially from LaserTech, who we are partnered up with, some of you may have used lasers just by themselves or with maybe the TerraSync app or the old ArcPad app. You can use LTI laser rangefinders for doing offsets if you get into a GPS area where you can't get a good enough GPS signal, or it's not safe for you to be in the road or in a construction area. And then you can back up 10, 15, 20 feet, get your offset and move along, and everybody's in safe mode, so to speak. So LTI laser rangefinders can be integrated with the software. So here's the next screenshot about the Office software. Very easy to use. It's got the ribbons at the top. You basically work left to the right for your workflow. After you bring the data in, start a project, bring in the data. If you decide to differentially correct it, you can. Otherwise, you can just view the results here and or export it out to different file types. This is where you can also create too a quick form or layers to basically then make your schema, so to speak, or if you know the terminology from TerraSync Pathfinder Office days, data dictionary, you can make that here, and or you could actually make it back in the data collector itself in the mobile mapper field software, which is kind of handy. You can make your points, lines, and areas, and also metadata too can be created too. So if you want to know the accuracy or the PDOP, and photos can be attached too. Very similar to if you're familiar with the collector workflow or the old TerraSync workflow or even ArcPad. You can do photos with this workflow. You can also do different coordinate systems. So similar to Pathfinder Office, you're not just stuck in lat, long, and HAE. You can actually do U.S. state plane coordinates. Again, with a mean sea level and a geoid. So something different for those that need to use mean sea level and geoids, and like I said, too, laser rangefinders too. All right, so on to the next topic here. Unless there's any questions, Joe?
No questions.
All right. So in the last 6 months or so, if you've been watching some of the blogs for on the ESRI ArcGIS Online, we've now got 5 user types. Previously, we just had 2, level 1 and level 2. So now there's 5 user types. You've got a viewer, an editor, a field worker, a creator, and a GIS professional. And so I'll bring up real quick these links. They should be linked so we can show the websites. All right. So you can go out and read up on this. I'm not going to bore you too much with all the information, but the 2 links that would be available to go out there and view. This is on the ArcGIS blog itself. It explains what is a user type now. Because previously you just had the level 1 and the level 2 right here. And now you've got different level 1s, level 2s embedded within some of these. So equate the level 2 to now being the GIS professional, and the level 1 is now more so in the field worker and or down to the viewer mode, so to speak. And so this was live as of December 2018. So now you got more options, so to speak. And of course, they all have different prices too. So I'm going to bring up that screenshot here of this actual website, ArcGIS Online pricing. So check with your ESRI sales rep that you're currently dealing with. If this is something that you want to entertain the next time maybe you're renewing your subscriptions. So again, on the left, you got creator. This is now $500 a year per user. There's a viewer now for $100, a field worker, which is probably going to be one of the more common ones, especially when dealing with collector. Then you've got an editor for $200, and then this is, again, like I said, the more of your level 2 subscription, whether you're in the basic mode, standard mode, or advanced for what you're doing on the backside for ArcGIS back in the office. All right. So if you got any questions about that, feel free to put in the chat window and we'll try to answer some of them. Otherwise, like I said, please do contact your ESRI purchasing sales rep to find out more information about the user types that are now available. So this screenshot, there's many apps out there, but we're just going to cover 2 of them in some detail here as far as what's new. Collector for ArcGIS and Survey 123 is what most of us use in the field. As you can see, there are many other office apps, and also in the field, there's other apps like Workforce Navigator, Drone Map, and ArcGIS Explorer. ArcGIS Explorer comes in handy too if some of your staff just need to view data and not actually interact or edit any data or collect data from so-called the collector side of workflow with an R1 or R2, or just straight up Arc Collector by itself. So in the last 6 to 8 months, unless you've been in the beta program for Collector, which it's free to do, you just need to sign up for it on their website. So back in December, Collector went through a different release. One on the bottom is now the new release called Collector. The previous one got changed back to the word Classic, and that will be out the door, so to speak, at the end of this year. Once on the Android side, they got that evolved into the newer version, also called Collector. So at this time, this version called Collector is only available through iOS, through the App Store there. So for iPhone or iPad. And we're going to cover here in a second as far as what the major changes are between the two. You could still run Classic on the iPad or the iPhone, but if you're using a Trimble R1 or R2, you would still then need to use the Trimble app called GNSS Status to configure the settings, not only for the data real-time collection, but just in general to let Collector know, hey, what are you using for an external receiver besides the integrated chip that is either on the phone or the iPad? So that is for Android and or iOS, but if you want to move forward and strictly just go with Collector, the new one, it now does not use the GNSS Status app separately. It has been integrated into the SDK on the backside. So the new Collector on iOS looks like this. It's a little bit different looking. You're going to have your GNSS accuracy all the way up here at the top of the screen now. I don't know if you can see the cursor up here at the top, but if you look at the screenshot on the right here, your accuracy is up here. It used to be in the lower left, the badge symbol. And then similar to if you are using your filtering based on accuracy, if you do not meet the required accuracy, the icon up here will not let you collect any data. It will be red. It won't be this blue color right now. So let's say you set your accuracy to 1 foot and you're at 1.1 feet. You'll know that you won't be able to collect any data. Also, if you're familiar with GNSS metadata, this is what it looks like after you've collected a shot with Collector. This is the new Collector again for iOS. So you can do all of this, or you can just do some metadata if you so choose to. And there's different workflows for that. That can be done via a tool called Collector Toolbox that you can get out on GitHub. Or if you go out, I've seen it also too, if you go out to the GeoNet site for Collector, people have put out the scripts out there and or the toolbox for either ArcMap Desktop and or ArcGIS Pro. You can also do it manually back in the database, but it's a little more time consuming. You have to spell everything exactly how it is on screen here, and caps are important. There are some newer system requirements. You do need to be at a minimum iOS 11 or higher. Currently iOS is in the 12s. The Android version of this is still in beta and will not be released until Q4. They were hoping to get it out, it sounded like, here at the UC conference in July next month, but it has been pushed back to Q4. And again, Classic is still available for both iOS and Android. But if you are using high accuracy devices like the Trimble R1 or R2, you do need that Trimble GNSS Status app to communicate with the R1 and R2 and Collector. So again, what's new with Collector 18.1? It actually is up to 19 now. It was released back in December for iOS. New version for Android will be expected Q4. It has a much cleaner UI user experience, easy setup compared to the Classic. You can actually set up your GNSS functionality, and we'll show maybe another screenshot of that coming up here in a second. If not, we do have a blog that we put out with a video back in February. How do you set up the profile and provider for the new 18.1 Collector with an R2 is what the video goes over. So again, the accuracy badge got moved to the top. The Trimble GNSS Status app is no longer needed separately. It is now embedded into the Collector version for iOS. And something new that came out too is turn-by-turn navigation and or straight line navigation. I don't know if any of you played around with that yet, but it can come in handy. So here's a screenshot of that, straight line navigation. So how you can do that is you can pick any feature on the map, highlighted blue, and then you'll get your attribute tables to pop up on the left, and you can scroll down towards the bottom, and you can either use directions or compass. If you click compass, that'll be the straight line navigation, basically from one point to another, as you see on the screen here. Otherwise, if you use directions, whatever app is already pre-installed on your iOS device, if it is Apple Maps, that's what it's going to use. But you do have the ability to tell to use what app you want to. So if you download a Google Maps or Waze, you can use that too. It comes in handy, especially for new users in your organization that may not know where some of your attributes and features are out in the field, and actually give them driving directions to get to said sign or manhole or water valve. Any questions so far, Joe?
Nope, no questions.
Okay. So what's coming to ESRI Collector? That's what we want to know. So stay tuned to ESRI UC announcements. I would definitely recommend signing up to watch their blog or any of their live sessions that they're going to be broadcasting, because I hear there are going to be some tweaks coming and some changes to ESRI Collector. So we're anticipating some new information, and Joe actually will be there at the conference. So if you're going to the conference, let us know. Joe will be there with a few of our other staff members. All right, switching gears. So we just covered a little bit about Collector and what's new there. Again, Collector being map-centric. So switching gears to Survey 123, and from that poll that Joe put out a little bit ago, it sounds like some of you may be using this. So this is form-centric. You don't necessarily need to be a GIS person to use this. That's what's kind of handy and kind of easy to use if you put this in the hands of new users. So questions do take precedence. Locations are secondary. You don't have to put it in a location, but if you do, you can use high accuracy devices now, which we'll touch on another screen down the way here. But if you don't put it in a location, Joe, what happens? Here, where's your data located in theory?
It'll put you at 0, off the coast of Africa.
Yep, so don't panic when you do open up the data in Survey 123 or ArcGIS Online. All right, so questions can be rule-based. You can work offline or online. And also you can pretty much analyze the results immediately as they get published up to ArcGIS Online, and they can be exported out in different file types. So check out survey123.arcgis.com for more information. So some system requirements for Survey 123 is compatible with Android and iOS, Windows 7, 8, 10, and Linux if anybody is using Linux. You can check out more details if you go out to the Survey 123 download page and or your app store, and learn more information on that as far as what version and what's new as far as system requirements too. So you may be asking yourself, who is using Survey 123, or why should I use it for my organization? Again, for those that are in the task-driven, taking a lot of notes, so to speak, this is getting rid of the old paper forms of filling that out in the field. This just gets us into the hands of users quicker, more users and faster, get data to come back in, may not necessarily need high accuracy. But what we found a lot of people are using this for is in a lot of emergency management situations, especially with lately here in the Midwest. We got a lot of tornadoes and a lot of flooding that's been going on, both in Iowa, Wisconsin, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, even Michigan. So you can put this in the hands of many users, especially that you don't necessarily need a login to Survey 123, because you could put this out as a cloud-based, so to speak, just a web link for users to fill out on the fly. Basically, crowdsourcing is what this is great for. If you need the community to help you with potholes or graffiti reporting, or bug or mosquito outbreak in a certain area of town that needs to just be, hey, you might want to pay attention to this. Something's going on over on this side of town. So it can come in handy for that, and or institutions use it inside their own departments, whether it's GIS, engineering, public works. We got a lot of utilities, a lot of DOTs using this for sign inspections, and they also sometimes use it in conjunction with Collector then too, because both Survey 123 and Collector can talk to each other if you program them right, as far as if you answer a question in Collector and you want it to then pop up in Survey 123, so you can fill out more lists, so to speak, and rule-based Q&A, or vice versa. Maybe you want higher accuracy to be built in, and you can trigger Collector. So there are many different organizations that are using this, as far as you can see from this list: Public Works, Forestry, Environmental, Geology, Archaeology. The list keeps going on and on and on. There's a lot of good customer stories out on ESRI's website too, so I would check that out if you get a chance on Survey 123. All right, so Survey 123 can use external GNSS antennas. We've had some customers ask us about this. And yes, this is true as of this past late winter, early spring. You can now start to use an R1 or R2 with it if you so choose to. And some metadata can now come in. It's not all there yet, but some metadata can come in as far as the accuracy like you get with Collector. So it has some direct connections to the R1 and R2. And if anybody on the webinar has tried using an R1 or R2, please let us know how you like it with Survey 123. So some other things that are new within the release that has come out this past spring. You can now use webhooks, enhanced GNSS metadata, like I said, and GNSS external receiver support has now been implemented. Joe, real quick, do you want to explain what maybe some advances, or I should say, what would you want to use webhooks with Survey 123? I know you've used it.
Yeah, for sure. So for instance, we use Survey 123 on a pretty much a daily basis to help track trainings and what's coming up, and where Jay and I are going to go travel next to go teach either an ESRI collector class or any type of training. So when we do that, we submit a survey to the customer. They fill that information out, and what happens is we don't necessarily get an alert when a survey has been submitted. So what we do is through Microsoft Flow, we can use a webhook that I set up that when a survey is submitted, I can bring that information and it'll run a report, and then it'll send an email to us at mapsupport@seilergeo.com, and then that way Jay and I have an alert that says, hey, we got access to a new survey, or a new survey has been submitted for training purposes. And you can do this in a myriad of ways. If you're out there and you're doing asset management, or you need to bill somebody, you can create bills or create workflows and create tasks with using webhooks. It's a pretty neat little system they got going on now.
Yeah, it's pretty handy. Thanks for that, Joe. All right, so we'll continue on here. I think we're getting close to the end of the what's new here on the webinar. Yep. So, do we have any other questions coming in from those that are attending?
Yeah, I got one more question, and I'm going to go ahead and answer this one because I looked it up too. It said, what is the average battery life of the Nomad 5? The average battery life of the Nomad 5 is 10.5 hours.
That's good. That's better than the cell phone.
Correct. Anybody else got any other questions?
Wrap up on
no question.
Yep. No questions yet?
Nope.
To wrap up on that Survey 123 topic we were just talking about, Joe had done a webinar back in the March timeframe. I just published it out to the Seiler Geo blogs, and it's on our Seiler Solutions YouTube page too if you want to take a look at that. It goes a little bit more in depth into what Survey 123 is than what we just covered right now. So take a look at that. That is out on our blog. You can learn more about Survey 123 or give us a call or shoot us an email if you want to learn more about that and how it works with an R1 or R2, and or especially with Collector, with any of the devices we have, whether it's TDC 150, Nomad, TDC 100, TDC 600, and or if you're just using straight up Collector with iPad, Android, R1 and R2. Got any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Joe, do we have a last poll?
Yep, we actually got another question that came in.
Okay.
From Dustin. He says, any idea when Collector will have MSL capabilities like using like an R2? Jay, I'll let you go ahead and answer that question.
Yep, we are too waiting on that. So I don't know if anything will come out at the ESRI conference. So it's one of those wait and see type things is what we've been told. I mean, I recall a webinar last fall that the ESRI app team had put out that in the future, one of the enhancement was going to be better Z values. but nothing else has ever been mentioned since last fall. So I guess it's keep your fingers crossed, and we'll see what happens at the ESRI UC conference on that. But that's a great question, Dustin. We too are waiting.
Yeah, we have one more poll left here, and just a general question of if anybody's interested, what type of GPS training are you interested in? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close this down and share the results. And now interested in collector and survey 1, 2, 3 and a few Teraflex out there.
Okay.
Yeah. 80% collector, 80% survey 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Awesome. Yes, and feel free to email us if you are interested in talking more about training and what it would consist of. Again, Seiler, instead of going through either Joe's or my email, you can go through mapsupport@seilergeo.com. Try to make it easy for you guys to find us. So again, here it is. I was just talking about that, mapsupport@seilergeo.com if you want to write that down. That is the easiest way to get hold of both Joe and I. And or follow us on Twitter too, SI Map Support. And we do appreciate you taking the time to attend this webinar. Again, like I said, this is recorded, and we will post this to our blog in case you wanted to catch up on something and or share this with your coworkers. If there aren't any more questions, Joe, we can wrap up the webinar.
I have no more questions.
Okay. Stay tuned to late summer or early fall. We're going to do, we're trying to keep these webinars on a quarterly basis. We are going to have a webinar on using apps with laser technology, true pulses. So stay tuned to that. We'll advertise that after the UC when we got more information. So that should probably be, I would say probably September timeframe. So that'll be our next webinar if you're looking to do offsets with lasers and GPS software. All right, if there's no more questions, we can sign off with this webinar. Thank you all for attending and have a good rest of your day.